Hi everybody, Linda Carroll here from Gather of Great Things Studio, and I've been away for about a week and glad to be back in the studio today. I wanted to show you one of my traveler's journals, not the size of a regular traveler's journal. I used a Diane Dilutions journal for this, and it was a long road trip that my husband and I took in 2015, and I still have pages in here that I need to finish, but I do a lot of different kinds of journaling, and I'm going to show you two today. We're going to start a different kind of journal, but I thought you might like to see this as an example of how I carry my collage work over into my regular journaling. So this is the cover, and it's kind of a montage of pictures that I took, scraps, stamps, and I found a journal online that somebody had done. I don't remember the name. I wish I did, but I had printed it out a long time ago, and I used bits and pieces. This is one of those pieces that I used throughout the journal. But this was an exciting trip for us. We both went back and to places that we had lived and worked across the country. We started in Myrtle Beach, where we live, and we continued. We ran away together across country. And these photos are all places that we visited across country. And the first stop that we made was at a restaurant called Betsy's Corner. And I had taken scraps with me to work with. I had taken collage bits and pens and pan pastels and stamps and a lot of different things to work with. And then I picked up a few magazines along the way. And this was a picture that I took and was able to print out on my little traveler printer. And this style is more like my collage style that I use in my art journal. So we love diners, and this kind of had a kind of diner feel to it. I did an itinerary. I used some of Tisha Moore's collage sheets in this as well. So kind of our itinerary, and I went back in after the trip and filled in the highlights of the different dates. I visited a friend in Georgia whom I hadn't seen in about 20 years, and this particular page is commemorating that. I still have to go in and embellish this. I don't know that I ever will, now that it's been 5 years ago, but maybe sometime I will. Then we went on to New Orleans, and this is more a montage of postcards that I bought when we were there. I kind of do a combination traveler's journal, collage art journal, and scrapbook when I'm doing this type of journal. So again, we're still in New Orleans, and then moved on to, looks like Texas is where we went next. And I did more of my collage style work here, and added postcards and some old pictures that I had found. This is a montage of our time in San Antonio, and I was drawing a Tree of Life sculpture here that I still need to go in and finish. But I love the artwork the bright colors, the patterns in Texas and Mexico and the Southwest in general. When we left Texas, we were driving along the freeway and we saw a sign that said Tombstone. And I thought, oh, is this the real Tombstone? And so we pulled off the road and followed the signs and found out, yes, it was. I'm not really sure why they fought over that land, because it was mostly desert with tree stubs and sand and tumbleweeds. But when we got there, we enjoyed the afternoon, going through the town and going through the different exhibits there at the old newspaper and the gunfight at the OK Corral and the cemetery where everyone is buried. But I like doing these totems, and you'll see a number of them throughout this particular journal. And this is Wyatt Earp. I kind of played with a new headdress for Wyatt, and that was kind of fun. So after that, we went to Carlsbad Canyon, and I had this bat lady up here flying along, and we spent the night in Las Cruces, and I did this collage, still have to work on the background, that night in Las Cruces. We went on to California and visited different places that we had both lived at separate times. And these are just basically montage pictures of our time there and places that we lived in. Bakersfield, I lived there for a number of years, and again, another montage. I intended to go in and write on this page. These are montage photos and pictures and postcards and pieces from that journal that I found online when we went to, this is actually when we were in Death Valley. And then went on to Las Vegas, and again, another totem in here, and kind of a montage of maps and postcards and everything. We followed Route 66 for a while and across Arizona. This is one of my favorite spreads. I took a map that I had picked up along the way of the Grand Canyon, and I made this figure kind of flying over the desert areas, and this was from a postcard that I found. So yeah, this is a really fun piece. I enjoyed working on that. This is a tower, a Native American tower that we climbed up into the top of, and I collaged around a picture off of a brochure, I think. On my birthday, we went to the Meteor Crater and Petrified Forest, and this is a collage montage I did the next day. We spent a number of days in Santa Fe, which was the final really day of visiting anywhere, and I made this collage kind of duplicating I think they're called ofrendas, that I love them, and so I made this one for myself. And we went to the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum there, and these are some of the pieces from the brochure that I got, and postcards that I bought there. And then this is the end of the Traveler's Journal part. This is all collaged from postcards and that journal that I found online. And the last place that we stopped on the way back was Betsys Diner in Aiken, South Carolina. And this is a picture of like outside of her restaurant. So that was kind of fun. And then after I did the first half of the book as a journal, I just went in and used the rest of the book as a scrapbook of photographs. So that's just kind of another idea of the type of journaling I do and enjoy doing. Of course, I have about 6 that are now partway done. So maybe someday I'll go through and finish all of them. But when we came home from this short trip, we went up north to Maryland to visit family. I had a pile of junk mail that had some really great heavy-duty paper, and I thought maybe it's time to make another junk journal, real junk journal, what I consider a real junk journal, using things that normally would be thrown away and end up in landfills or recycled. So I've already put together some 2 signatures, and I believe there's 7 pages in each, 7 individual pages in each signature. But they're all different size papers. I've done a little bit of prep work, gluing some flip outs together, but I thought it would be fun to go through and make another junk journal. I haven't made one in a while, but these papers were just too great to just throw in the recycle bin. So there are a number of little flip outs and different size papers. So this should be fun to work on. Whenever I do this kind of thing, I have to take into consideration how the pages, these smaller pages, work and complement the pages that are in the background, you know, on both sides. So that'll be a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to today work on putting the book together, maybe covering the cover. While we were gone, my husband went to the money machine at the bank and it ate his bank card. So this envelope is what his new bank card arrived in, and it was here when we arrived home yesterday. So all I've done is trimmed off the top where the envelope part was, and I've glued it together. And then I scored it and I folded it in half. And I didn't even measure to see what size it was. I just knew that this is what I wanted to use for the cover. And then I'll put the 2 signatures inside. I'm going to stitch these inside, and then I will do my collage work on the inside pieces. I've really been intrigued by the new, I guess it's new, commercial that I've seen on TV. It's for Amazon, and the colors are very muted, and it's their program about all you need is a voice or something. And there's this mouth that floats around through this collaged background. And so I just fell in love with the colors. I found the ad on the computer and I have watched it a number of times. And I found it really exciting. I think that that this style, this collage style, has made it to TV. It was done by an advertising agency in Portland, Oregon. So you might, I know it's on YouTube. I know I've watched it a number of times, but I'm going to try and use those colors and that feeling and that style throughout this journal, which is new for me. Most of my collage journals are very brightly colored, and so I found some actually scrapbook paper from, I think it's the Paper Studio that I've had for a long time, and I'm going to use this for the cover. So I've already folded it and everything, so I'm going to have to glue on, and I think let's see, I think I'm going to use my glue stick to do this. And we'll see. Like I said, I haven't done one of these in a long time, and so I'm, you know, I'll make sure I've got this right. I'm just gonna go over this with the glue stick and use a lot of glue. I'm afraid I guess I could use Mod Podge or matte medium or something, but I really want this to stick down. And let's see, this is my front. I've already folded it, so I know approximately where I want it to be on the paper. We had a great trip this time up north. We drove through Virginia, went up a new route because my sister-in-law's moved to Virginia, and it was such a relaxing drive, and we broke up the 9-hour drive up to Maryland for us, and visited with her and my husband's father and her son and daughter-in-law and baby, and then we continued on to Maryland, and on the way, to Maryland the next day, I like to find restaurants that we've never tried before. Found a restaurant called Mrs. Rose Restaurant in Stanton, Virginia, and we had lunch there. I guess it's been around since the 40s. And they also had a bakery. So naturally we had to buy some cookies. And they had these cookies that were raspberry filled that looked like, my husband loves raspberry tarts, and they looked like, reminded me of the raspberry tarts that he likes. So I showed them to him, and he was like, oh, we have to, you know, we do have to try those. So he asked the woman how many there were on the tray, and she said, oh, I don't know, I think there's over a dozen. And he said, well, I'll take all of them. And she was kind of shocked, but he did he did buy all the raspberry tarts that were in the shop, and he said they were better than the raspberry tarts that he is able to get up in Maryland. So he enjoyed that stop on the trip. I'm just cutting out another little piece to be able to finish off the cover over here. And again, it's in those really pretty, soft, subtle colors that I'm going to work with in this journal, or try to work with in this journal. Reminds me of engravings. So I should be able to find a lot of images that are in the public domain, and a lot of pattern paper. And naturally, I have the old ledgers and graph papers and that kind of thing, which should look great. And fold this and make sure I still have a good fold. Yeah, I do. Okay. For the good graph papers and ledger papers and everything, there are those colors naturally. I'm just gonna trim the edges here a little bit, so when I fold it over, I don't end up with a whole bunch of paper there in the corners. So I'm kind of glad that I've placed these challenges on myself to change my color palette. I've kind of moved in this direction in my paintings that I do, but I haven't in my collages for some reason. So maybe this will start my collage work and my paintings being more similar in their look and feel, which I kind of like that idea. So I'm just using my glue stick and folding over these edges and making sure they're secure. Okay. See, when you trim those that edge there, you'll get a nice sharp corner when you fold over your paper. anyway, we continued to Maryland, and my cousin's son is being deployed again, and so her daughter-in-law had a little farewell get-together for him, and we went to that, and then we visited with family. So it was a nice trip, a short trip, but a nice trip. Okay, so here's my cover, my front and back, and everything's glued down securely. I'm going to use the sides of my scissors to kind of get that fold back really, really nice. And I like the weight of this cover from this envelope. It's really nice. Okay. I think I'm going to put a strip of washi tape down the center, the inside of this, and then I'm going to put my inside papers on. Because I don't really, I'm going to put a little bit of glue down here too, because sometimes washi, because it's made to be able to pick up, it doesn't always hold really well. But I want something really thin here so that it doesn't interfere with folding. No, that's really straight. Let's try that again. Okay, and while we were there, I told you when I was showing you my, get my little scissors. I was showing you the travel journal that I did. We love diners, and there's a diner in Maryland that we always go to when we're up north, and it's the Double T Diner. And we went there. I don't think I'm going to use that on the inside. I think it's really pretty, but I think I want something more plain. I found these kind of graph papery look papers, and I think I'm going to use. And I'm not going to put it over the fold. I'm only going to put it on the front and the back page. Anyway, the first night we were in Maryland, we were hungry, so we went to the diner and had dinner, and it was great. And the next morning, when we got up, one of my friends had posted an article on Facebook that said that the diner was probably closing. And they had sold the property, the building and the property, to a developer who was going to build a Chick-fil-A. And they had pictures of the drawings of the new restaurant, and I was heartbroken. I thought, oh no, one of our most favorite places in the world is closing. And, you know, days of going there are over. Now, it had only been, it's been open since 1998, which I didn't even live in Maryland at that time. I was living in California. But since I've moved back east and reconnected and reunited with my love from my high school days, going to the Double T has been one of our things that, you know, that we've been doing, and it's something that he's done ever since he was young, and I did when I was very young. So I'm kind of heartbroken. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen. There are other locations, all owned by the same family. But this one is our favorite, and so I'm just hoping that it doesn't happen, but I have a feeling it is going to happen. So, okay, I've got the end paper there. And this one's just a little bit too wide. So I'm going to trim off a little bit. So things change. You can always count on change. And so we had to go back to the Double T the last night we were there. And I told my husband, I said, I feel like this is my last supper. It's just, I mean, unbelievable that there's a possibility that when we go up the next time, the Double T won't be there. And so I guess we'll have to go to the other one, which I don't like as much. It's open. It's a farther drive, but if we need our Double T fix, I guess we will have to change our habits a little bit. So I'm just gonna glue eyeball here and glue my inside page and paper in like that. Just very, very clean. Nice. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm going to put this together just using a pamphlet stitch. And I mean, there are lots of videos online if you've never done a pamphlet stitch before. But I use heavy twine to sew my books together, my journals together. And I have a number of different size needles, but the ones that work best, you know, have a large eye. I don't know if you can see that, and then kind of a blunt tip. So that's the size I use, and I have an awl that I use to punch the holes in the signature and in the book. And I make templates so that I know the holes are in the right place in my books. So let's go ahead and punch the holes in the spine. And I use a phone book to punch my holes. So I just kind of, usually I'm doing this on a large table. As you can see, mermaids are still in my mind, but move that over there. So I guess I can get my glue book out of the way now. Move this over a little bit. Okay, I just kind of set my template down in my book evenly, and then I just punch down through the holes in my template all the way through the spine in the book. Okay, and you can see the holes in the spine. And then, I know I have never done this before. When I made my signatures, I was just going to do one signature and put everything together in one signature. But when I did that, because the papers are so thick, I had a lot of telescoping out, and I didn't really like that. So I thought, well, I'm going to break it up into 2 signatures. Now I don't know where it is. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I think that's how I had it, or maybe not. Let's try this. Yeah. So see, I don't have the telescoping that way, but I'm going to try to sew both signatures using the same holes. I've never done it before. It may not work, but I'm going to try it and see. This is a junk journal. It's not, it's not anything that I'm going to sell. I'm going to keep it and work in it for me. So basically, let's see. I'm going to put some template down here. Now, because I have papers that are all different sizes, I want to make sure that at least 2 of the stitches go through each piece of paper. So hopefully the way these are laid out, and I have these lined up at the top and bottom of my largest paper, I'm going to go through and punch through all of my papers. Okay, there's one. Now I'm punching 5 holes in each signature. This is my center. Line those up. Like I said, usually when I'm making books, I'm usually on a big table where I have a lot more room than this. I'm on my table where I have my camera set up, so I have something to hook it to over here. Okay, so those are my 2 signatures. And inside my book, and I can put this someplace else. And I can start stitching my book together. Now I usually measure at least 3 widths of the book, or lengths of the book, and then I add a little bit more just to be safe. And I've lost my needle that I chose. So let's find another one that will work. This one's too big, I think. Let's see what this one is. Yeah, this one will work. And I love this large eye on this needle because I don't have to struggle. And I think I want this one. I'm going to do this one first. All right. Now I moved my signature, so okay, I'm going from the inside to the outside in the middle hole, and I'm gonna leave a tail. I think I should have used a clip and clipped these together. Okay, so next I'm going through the second hole. Let's see how this goes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, that pretty tight. Now what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to take another needle and kind of stick it through here to kind of hold everything together. Okay. And then I'm going to go in the top hole. Now this one, I'm going to miss a lot of pages because I have such different sizes of paper. Okay, now I'm going to, after that, I'm going to go back into my second hole. Okay. Pull my thread tight. All right, now I'm going to skip the middle hole. I'm not going to go back in that one. Okay, so I want to go down here to this second hole from the bottom and go through. Okay. Pull my thread tight. And then we're going to go down to the bottom hole. And again, this one I'm not going to have as many pages to go through because I have my short pages up there, but that's okay. Okay, I want to make sure all my threads are pulled snugly. Now, not super tight. Okay, now I'm going to go back up through the second hole. And then I'm going to take my extra needle out that did a good job of holding my pages together. And I'm going to go back up, but I want to come up on the other side of the thread. I come back up here. Make sure my pages are in. Make sure my thread's snug on the back, which it is. And then I'm going to tie a knot here. Okay. I'm going to let those hang down off the bottom. So I have my first signature stitched in. And I have a nice fold here. I like it. Solid. All my pages are staying in. They're not falling out, which is a good thing. So what I think I'm going to do is off camera, I'm going to do the second, there's my needle. Do the second signature because I'm not really sure how it's going to work out. So I will finish that later. And the next thing that we'll do after I get the second signature filled in is start doing some collage work inside and some embellishment of the pages and I'm going to follow through with my challenge. I'm going to be looking for papers that fit my new color palette. And these work out really well. So I'll probably be able to, you know, use that as part of my page. But we'll see what happens. And I hope you enjoyed this first part of putting together what I call my real junk journal. And I'll be gathering together some more pages and papers and pulling together images that will work in this journal. I think I'm going to really enjoy this challenge. So I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening, whatever it is you're doing, and I wish you many blessings, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.